So first off, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Let's talk about Maine. Obviously, it's a state that has leaned Democratic. If you look at the presidential elections, it hasn't gone for Republicans since 1988. So what are going to be the challenges for Senator Susan Collins? She's obviously won a lot, but she's a Republican. What are the challenges in a cycle that's thought to be a good year for Democrats?
Well, Susan Collins has certainly been able to prove to the voters of Maine that she represents them first and foremost. And she's been written off numerous times, but she manages to win by large margins each time. And I think that will happen again because she knows, based on her constituency services and her direct service to the people of Maine, that what they need, what they want, and she's delivered over and over again for them.
I did look back through her electoral history, and it is impressive. She's won 5 times, including 3 times when there was a Democrat that won the presidency. And yet I brought this up with a Maine Democrat, and they said there's a big difference this time. She's 73. So in a cycle when there is an appetite for younger candidates, would it be better for Republicans if she were not the candidate because of her age?
No, I think she represents Maine. I think she's a perfect candidate, and she knows how to win. And like I said, she does a great job in the U.S. Senate. And look at the alternative. I mean, the elites in the Democrat Party in Maine are choosing a candidate. My guess, it's probably the D.C. Democrats that are picking the candidate. Obviously, they canceled the debate. They're not letting everybody, not a single vote has been cast for this candidate, and they're going to put another person up. But just look a couple of months ago who they put up originally with Plattner, and the fact that he got over 70%. So we know where they want to head. And to me, it's common sense versus craziness and communism. And it's so it's a very clear direction on where these two candidates will end up heading. We actually don't know what candidate the Democrats will have. We think it's going to be Jackson based on based on the coronation, but who knows what will happen when they actually make that decision.
I'd like to ask about the Trump effect in Maine. He's obviously lost the state 3 times, and Senator Susan Collins has at times tried to distance herself from the president. In fact, she voted to convict him in the second impeachment. My question is, will the president campaign for Senator Collins, or would the RNC prefer that perhaps he stays away from Maine?
I think Susan Collins needs to do whatever she needs to do to win. I think she's successful. She's obviously a very independent-minded U.S. senator, and she governs that way. And the Republicans, I don't think, count on her vote very often for a lot of these big things because she's, like I said, she's independent-minded, and she does what she thinks is in the best interest of Maine. The Republican National Committee is there to support her in every way. I think that she's been a terrific senator across the board over the years. She knows how to win in a very difficult state, and so we're there to support her however way that she needs.
Do you expect the president to come to Maine?
Listen, I expect to make sure that to help Susan Collins whatever way that she needs to win. I think she will be there. I don't actually think the president's even endorsed Susan Collins. So the fact of him coming to Maine is, we'll see what happens.
Okay, I'd love to talk about immigration. This was obviously one of the top issues for the president in 2024. But if you look at recent polling and you believe some of the recent polling, it would show that Americans have sort of soured on the president's handling of this issue. One poll I'll read here was from the economist YouGov. It found 54% disapproved and 60% of Hispanic voters. And I only ask this because it has hit home in Maine after the ICE-involved shooting that happened in Biddeford. My question is it possible that the president's gone too far with this enforcement and risks alienating some independent voters?
No, at the end of the day, those people can't vote anyway. Most of these illegals, although the Democrats would like to give them a path to citizenship and voting, they're undermining the system, and they're not voters. They're not citizens. And so the president, it's no longer a top issue across the board because the president solved this issue. We've had 0 boarding crossings in, I think, 14 months. The guy's been, he delivered when he became president again on this issue. He's done a phenomenal job. I think that average, everyday Americans who depend on working real jobs for real wages appreciate the fact that the president's cracked down on the Democrat Party's efforts to load our country full of illegals, the tens of millions of people who came across this border, along with illegal drugs like fentanyl, that toxic poison that's been killing our kids. The president deserves a lot of credit, and so we're moving forward with that.
I'd love to ask you about money. Obviously, it's an important part of party politics. And really quickly first, can you just comment on whether the RNC is changing their spending habits because of Plattner dropping out in Maine? Do you see this as a bigger opportunity now?
We've always thought Maine was going to be a winner. Susan Collins is a winner. She's proven that she's could win, and so our strategy remains the same. We're going to be there. We're going to do whatever it takes to help Susan Collins be successful. She deserves another term. I think she's represented Maine well, and I think she'll continue on.
So are you guys spending more on Maine?
Maine is part of our area of concern, so we're going to continue to focus our efforts on anywhere we think we have a battleground candidate, whether in the United States Senate or House. By the way, we have the largest cash on hand in the history of the party, and the Democrats are basically bankrupt. And so we're moving forward. We're excited about all of our candidates, and our plan remains the same. We're spending wherever our candidates need the help.
Yeah, that kind of goes into my next question, which is going to be that if you look at the parties, you guys are just dominating Democrats, both on the party committees and then also on the super PACs. I think it was like double, it was like way more that you guys have. But I wanted to ask about the candidate fundraising, because it's a little different when you look at that. For example, in Georgia, I think Ossoff has $40 million more than his Republican opponent. Rory Cooper in North Carolina has $17 million. What do you think this says about enthusiasm for the candidates?
Listen, they could raise money, as much money as they want. Those two candidates that you just mentioned have been on the political scene for a long time, and so they're able to generate that much campaign cash through their years of service. But at the end, it's flushing their money down the tube. Our candidates in both those states are much better. We'll be able to provide the help and support as needed. And as we look at the bigger picture, our goal is to defy history in November, is to win both the majorities in the House and the Senate. We have the resources to do that. The Democrat Party literally is borderline bankrupt. They have $18 million in debt. We have the most cash on hand ever. And when you look at the coordinated campaign limit law that was just struck down by the Supreme Court, it magnifies that by two or threefold. We're well positioned to help all of our candidates, and any of our candidates that need support where we think that they have a chance. We're going to be there for them, and we're going to make sure that we hold the line and hold these majorities all the way through November and give the president his final 2 years, because what we know what will happen if the Democrats do somehow take the House or the Senate. It's going to be investigations. It's going to be obstruction. It's going to be impeachment. We already saw what they did during the shutdown. They want to create chaos. They want to stop all momentum. Trump derangement syndrome is real, but America derangement syndrome is real too. That's why you see over 50% of the Democrats supporting some type of form of socialism. That's the path they want their country to go down. We got very clear paths here. Common sense versus communism and crazy. People know what that's at stake, and so as a result, I think people will turn to the Republicans across the board, and we'll be able to win.
Okay, I'd love to quickly pivot, because I know I'm keeping track of time here, just to talk about election integrity. This is a big focus of the president. He's been pushing for the Save America Act. But I want to ask, and he's also claimed multiple times that the 2020 election was stolen. Is this the platform of the Republican Party now?
Well, all you have to do is see what happened in New Jersey this week, where their governor came out and said there was a glitch in the system and they had thousands of non-citizens registered. That's them. They said it this week. They only said it because we exposed them. We have 150 lawsuits in 36 states, coast to coast, because the Democrats will do whatever it takes to win, and that includes stealing, lying, and cheating. We're catching them, we're stopping them, and we have to make sure that our elections are safe and secure. Everybody should agree that making sure we have full faith and confidence in our election system is important. We should pass the Save America Act. We should prevent these illegals from being registered, and we certainly should make sure they're not voting. This is where the Democrats are going. The Democrats have let tens of millions of illegals across the border to make sure that they could get some new voting bloc, because they've abandoned the working man. That's where the President Trump has come in. He's literally fighting every single day for the average working American out there. He wants to give them a path to achieve the American dream. The Democrats have abandoned the working man. They've picked up the illegals in these non-citizens and are trying to get a new voting bloc. The American public doesn't want any part of it, and they're going to largely be rejected.
On the candidate level, though, is that sort of a litmus test to say that they believe the 2020 election was stolen?
Listen, the 2020 election was stolen. They was stolen because the COVID, and listen, people don't know that I was the election integrity chairman after the 2020 cycle. But listen, the election results were certified. And what our job is not to relitigate what happened in 2020. It's to make sure what happened in 2020 never happens again. We should make sure that everybody has full faith and confidence in the system. You should want full faith and confidence in the system, because without it, we don't have a democracy. Everybody has to believe that their vote matters. And at the end of the day, you should have, for every American citizen, they should have one vote. And look at Florida, for example. I'm from Florida, 23 million people. We could deliver election results within 90 minutes with both Democrat and Republican supervisors, and everybody has confidence in the system. Why? Because we do it right. Other states need to follow. They need to pass the Save America Act and do the right thing.
Thank you for answering my question in a thoughtful way. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
On the Save America Act, we would only have about 4 months to put that in place. So if that were to pass, would it be practical for all the states to sort of re-register everybody and check the rolls in time?
Well, the timing issue is going to, depend from state to state. But listen, first off, we need to pass it. The bottom line is passing the Save America Act is something that 80% of Americans can agree with. This is not rocket science. You need a voter ID to go to the Olive Garden never-ending pasta bowl. If Olive Garden could figure it out, certainly the American system could figure it out. Voters should be American citizens. Everybody should agree with that, and we should have full faith and confidence. We should have full faith and confidence in the system, and we don't have that right now.
And we should get Olive Garden breadsticks along with our vote there. Does the RNC support mail-in ballots? Is that something you're pushing?
We support whatever ways to vote that makes it easier, but we want to make sure that it's right for that particular state and that it's easily identifiable, so that just like what the president said in his executive order, people have to have a trail. You have to be able to follow it, and it has to be simple and common sense. But again, it goes back to the same basic common sense solution. One American citizen, one vote, and we'll take it from there.
Wait, I don't have a lot of time left, but I just want to ask, what can we expect for this big convention that's coming up? What's that going to look like, and who's paying for it? But also, what's it going to look like?
Listen, it's going to be a Trumpapalooza. We're going to be able to highlight all the amazing things this president has done. We're going to be able to show a clear contrast between us and the Democrats and what these radical leftists are pushing. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at what, believe in what they say. These candidates, Mamdani is the leader of their party. They're elected, nominating all these mini Mamdamis all across the country who are pushing policies like in the U.S. Senate, no borders whatsoever. They want to forget about cashless bail, which is a disaster, which the left pushes. They don't want any criminal penalties whatsoever. Over 50% of the Democrats believe that socialism is the right way to go. Think about what that means. So what we basically have here is common sense versus crazy and communism. All you got to do is look at history in all these countries where they've adopted these socialist policies and what's happened to the people. It's an absolute disaster. The American people will largely reject that, and they'll return majorities to both the House and Senate, so the President Trump can keep his agenda moving forward.
My last question is a selfish one because I'm assigned to cover Trump's event today, and I'd love to have you comment on it. This is the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. Basically, it's a pledge where data center developers would pay higher rates to ensure that higher costs are not passed on to average households. And I guess my question for you as the chairman of the RNC is this an acknowledgement of how people are growing increasingly worried about the higher costs tied to AI development?
Well, thank you, President Trump, for sticking up for the average American worker once again. The Ratepayer Protection Pledge is certainly a simple solution to make sure those that are benefiting are paying their fair share. It's simple, it works, and at the same time, we're going to make sure that the United States is still, in the lead over China as it comes to artificial intelligence and other matters. But the president is right. This should be a focus, and it's a focus across America because people want to make sure those that benefit pay. And that's exactly what this is going to do. So thank you, President Trump.
Okay, thank you for your time. It was exactly 15 minutes. Actually, it might be 16,
Okay.
so I went over by a minute, but I appreciate the time.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.